Hello, today I'm going to talk about charter schools in Texas and if they receive an equitable share of funding as compared to traditional public schools. Charter schools are the fastest growing segment in the public education. Nationwide, 42 states and the District of Columbia have over 6,000 schools with 2 million students. Texas is the second largest state for public charter schools with over 183 charters, 629 campuses, and nearly 250,000 students. You will also find over 130,000 students on the waiting list waiting to enroll at charter schools across Texas. Campuses can be found statewide, but the majority are in the 5 major cities of Austin, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, and San Antonio. Studies have shown that compared to traditional public schools, charters serve a higher proportion of economically disadvantaged students, such as African American, Hispanic, and limited English proficient students. They also have found that students outperform traditional public school peers in reading, which is a strong predictor of academic success. Oversight is provided by the Texas State Charter Association, Texas Education Agency, and the National Bureau of Economic Research, and the Center for Research on Education. From this, they have created the Quality Framework Accountability Measure Marker, which measures success in the areas of academics and the organizational viability. A 10-year study has shown marked improvement in overall academic success. Charter schools have completely eliminated the gap in reading performance as compared to traditional public schools. 69% of the economically disadvantaged students in charters pass the reading portions of the STAR tests. Also, limited English proficient students outperforms traditional public school students in every academic subject. 61% of charter graduates enroll in a Texas institution of higher education as compared to 56% of high school graduates in traditional public schools. In looking at the funding sources, what I found is that charter schools are funded as the same model as the traditional public schools. It is a 2-tier system that was developed by school foundation programs. Tier 1 funding ensures all districts receive an equal base level of funding. This is your basic allotment, which is based on the average daily attendance. The Tier 2 funding is a guaranteed tax yield. It ensures that if property taxes are raised, then those tax increase will yield similar levels of funding for education. Charter schools do not see these same levels of funding. Tier 1 funding adjustments are not made for charter schools, and since Tier 2 funding is determined by Tier 1, charter schools are negatively impacted by this inequity. Lastly, the state does not provide facilities funding to charters, which means that all funding given to charter schools also has to fund facility upgrades or facility buildings. In looking at the numbers, I have looked at the horizontal and vertical equity concepts to compare these funding sources. What I found that studies have shown some disparities based on various factors. So the same numbers that are being measured are seen in 2 different ways, depending on who's measuring them or who's studying them. For example, Raleigh and Wood shows larger charter schools receive a larger portion of funding compared to their traditional public school counterparts. This is based strictly on size and no other factors. So this is for the larger schools. They receive charter schools receive a larger proportion of funding. Those same numbers are evaluated by Moat, Casey, and Associates and show that charter schools receive a smaller portion of funding based on weighted student averages and the daily average attendance measures. So more factors were considered, and they show that charter schools receive a smaller proportion of funding. So based on school size, we'll look at the numbers, and we have found that the average adjusted allotment for all schools, regardless of size, is $6,518 per pupil. Taking an unweighted average of state and local general fund revenues across districts, charters receive $8,871 per student, compared to $9,843 for traditional public school districts. Taking district size into account, the smaller traditional public school district receives significantly more state and local funding than similarly sized charter schools. $10,668 compared to $8,965 for charters, whereas larger traditional public school districts receive slightly less state and local funding per student than larger charter districts, $7,968 compared to $8,965. This is where you'll find the number of $1,000 difference between charter schools and traditional public schools, which negatively impacts charter schools. So these are a couple of numbers that I've found. I look forward to presenting more information in our next video as I unpack this more fully. Thank you.